If our bodies encounter something that we really don't want going on, whether it be bacteria, viruses, fungus, other eukaryotes, maybe other cancerous cells or things like that, there's tons and tons of ways to deter it, to make certain it doesn't really happen. And if it does happen, how to fight it off. Now, there are two main systems that we block all of these responses together. The innate, which means non-specific. It doesn't really care what you are, whether you're fungus, bacteria, virus. It just takes care of it. There's no special attack, no special anything. But then there's the adaptive, which is the specific. If this bacteria is really being a pain, or this virus is really being a pain, then we're going to enlist some special cells that'll build very specific types of attacks against that one type of infector. We're going to go ahead and discuss the innate immunity, the non-specific immunity. This video will cover just the first line, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the second line in the next video, as the second line can be a little bit more interesting. So we got two different forms of first line defenses. You got the physical and the chemical, while the second line we have the inflammation, the fever, the antimicrobial, the natural killers, and the phagocytic cells. Our first line of defense really is lying in our skin and mucosa membranes. Anything that's exposed out into the wild blue yonder. Our intestines, our mouths, anuses, skin, all that, eyeballs, nostrils, all that goodness. Anything that's exposed to the air and a bacteria can interact with, we got some type of defense going on. The mechanical defenses for the skin, obviously if you got a really thick epithelial cell layer, plus a lot of dead cells on top of that, kind of matting it down, it's really hard to get into. And if you got a nice bulky thick one as well throughout your mouth, your nose and all that stuff, it's hard to get past. You can also secrete like tears, force the liquid, the production of excessive liquid. It could just be like taking a fire hose to somebody and turning it on and just blasting them away. Same thing with mucus. You kind of get the idea with the mucus, with like sneezing, blasting them away. Epiglottis, making certain it doesn't sneak down into your lungs, that type of stuff. Well, also these things, the saliva, mucus, all that stuff can also have a chemical property to it that can fight it off too. So mechanical defenses, again, you got that multiple layer, you got the tightly locked keratinocytes, but you also got chemicals, which has the salts. A lot of bacteria doesn't like really high concentrations of salts. You got organic salts like urea, which is like the main component in your urine. Most things don't like that. Neither ammonia or lactic and fatty acids. Ugh. A lot of bacteria. I don't know if I like that stuff. Then you got the antimicrobial enzymes. You got enzymes working inside that liquid that you're leaking out, trying to fight it off. And then you got microbial. So let's look at some chemical defenses just because we can. You got the different types of glands. Maybe you're remembering this from AMP1. We got the eccrine, apocrine, sebaceous, and ceraminous glands. The eccrine glands, they're found everywhere. It's just your basic sweat. You got ions in there, you got urea in there, you got ammonia in there, you got some amino acids. You also got lactic acid in there. A lot of bacteria doesn't like that salt. It doesn't like it salty. You put it in the place, you put it on your skin, and it's like, no, I don't want to be there. You also got in different places, such as a man's beard and the axillary hairy region, as well as the pubic region, you're going to get the apocrine, which is like a yellowish or whitish color, and it has a distinct smell to it. You're producing lipids and proteins. Your natural flora loves it, absolutely eats it up, literally. And that's why you get those really distinct smells in your armpit, because of the bacteria that are hanging out in there now. Well, they're byproducts, the lactic acid, the fatty acids, all that stuff. A lot of that bacteria doesn't like that. Like foreign bacteria that make you sick, really don't want to hang out in that stuff. So it's good that you had that fatty acid there and that extra bacteria there. Sebaceous glands, you got that cholesterol. It helps prevent things. And then the ceruminous glands, it's found in the auditory canal, which doesn't really, that's a fancy word of saying earwax. And it does great against bacteria. Like there's some properties to it, some chemicals in it, like lysozyme, you got salts, you got also some proteins that are actually built to fight off against or deter bad bacteria. But it doesn't really stop a little bug from getting in there. It's not an anti-arthropod type thing like some people would hope it would be. And again, I kind of alluded to this microbial defense. This is kind of an FYI. Your normal flora are great. Your skin, your guts, they're coated in bacteria, just covered. You have more bacterial cells on your skin and in your guts and in your urethra than you actually have cells of yourself. Mind you, you have this bacterial stuff is like really, really small compared to your cells. That's why you can say that you have so much. And they really don't like other bacteria sneaking in. This is their turf. This is their home. They found a nice little host that doesn't bother them, and the cells don't bother the host. So we're in a happy little mutualistic relationship. And alien bacteria, no, get out of here. You don't belong here. Get out. Just get out. You're competing for resources, and our normal bacteria making byproducts that they don't like, and usually they reproduce a lot quicker. So here's that list of the different types of things. Epidermis, as just a quick reminder, is that nice, thick, dead keratinocytes that don't allow any type of bacteria past them. You got the mucous membranes that are nice and thick, not as effective as intact skin, but they still do a pretty good job. Mucus, you propel that out. Hairs do great. Cilia push things out of the way. Lacrimal apparatus is like taking a fire hose to something when you're crying really hard. Lacrimal apparatus is just a fancy way of saying that you're the thing that makes tears. Saliva has chemical properties to it. Urine has chemical properties to it. Vomiting and vomiting propels bad bacteria out. And then you got the chemical, like the sebum, that is like really acidic. Most bacteria don't like it. Like E. coli hates it. You can't really have E. coli live on you for very long. Lysozyme, that's the stuff that's found in like tears and your nose and things like that kills off bacteria. Gastric juice kind of makes sense. They got a super acidic solution. Most bacteria can't live in there. And then the vaginal secretions you also have are pretty acidic. We're going to be discussing this second line here in the next video. We've already gone into about 8 minutes, 15 seconds. And it's just